Do you think this is impeachable?
Yeah, I do. I do think that this, if proven, which hasn't been proven yet, some of this, if proven, some of this would be impeachable, yes.
All right.
Obstruction of justice, if proven, would be impeachable.
Welcome back. That was House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler on Meet the Press yesterday with Chuck Todd, saying that in his eyes, obstruction of justice, if proven, would be impeachable. And as we've said, right now, House Democrats are on a conference call. They are discussing their next steps in the aftermath of the Mueller report's release and whether that would include impeachment. And we just learned that the House Judiciary Chairman has also issued a subpoena to former White House counsel Don McGahn. And joining me now is someone who would have to vote to convict or acquit if it ever came to that, if the Senate were to impeach the president. That is Senator Ben Cardin, Democrat from Maryland. Senator, thank you for joining us. You've been through one of these before, back when you were in the House 20 or so years ago when Bill Clinton was impeached and the Senate acquitted him back then. Well, we played that clip from Jerry Nadler saying he is reading the Mueller report and he sees potentially impeachable conduct. Do you?
Well, one thing is clear to me, that the Mueller report gives us sufficient reason to conduct a very thorough investigation, first in the House of Representatives on impeachment, but also in both the House and Senate on action that Russia took against us in order to protect us from future attacks. In both cases, it's incumbent upon Congress as an institution to follow up on the Mueller report. So I think the chairman of the Judiciary Committee is doing the right thing in getting all the information before his committee. That means, yes, having Mr. Mueller testify before Congress. And I recognize there are other critical witnesses that he wants to hear from directly. He wants to get all the material. He's going about the right way. He wants to see whether we can establish the case for obstruction of justice. And if there's evidence on obstruction of justice, then there's a consideration of how to proceed and how hold the president accountable.
I want to put up something that Ezra Klein at Vox wrote about sort of a skeptical case, skeptical argument, I should say, about impeachment. He asked this. He said, is the case for impeachment really going to be that Trump wanted to fire then Attorney General Jeff Sessions, but didn't? That he wanted to fire Mueller, but didn't? That he fired FBI Director James Comey in 2017? That he asked his staff to do illegal things, but then accepted their judgment when they refused? That being a liar, which has been obvious about Trump since long before the American people elected him, is a high crime and misdemeanor? Getting at some of the questions there that I think perhaps kept Mueller in this report from issuing some kind of a clearer statement on criminality, some kind of a clearer statement on obstruction of justice. When you get into this area of intent, when you get into the president seemed to want this to happen but didn't ultimately follow through on it, can you really build an impeachment argument when you have questions like that there around intent?
Well, that's one of the questions I think we want to ask Mr. Mueller. He seemed to be guided by the principles of the Justice Department not to indict a sitting president, so he really didn't go down that path as to whether there was adequate information for an indictment. So it would be interesting for us to hear firsthand from Mr. Mueller as to the strength of the information. Obstruction of justice does not require that you succeed in the obstruction of justice. It is a crime in and of itself. So I do think that's an issue that we need to hear Mr. Mueller directly and look at the source information to make our own determinations. That's the requirement of the Congress of the United States.
What about the politics of it? The argument's been made there. Jerry Nadler, as we just said, 20 years ago, one of his arguments against impeaching Bill Clinton 20 years ago was he said you cannot have an impeachment that's driven by one party, opposed by the other, and does not have broad support amongst the American people. If you look at the polling and you look at the partisan reaction to that, you would have one party driving impeachment and no broad consensus the American people right now. Does that weigh on you?
Well, absolutely, and I'm hopeful that this process will bring about more bipartisan conclusions than one party moving forward and other parties saying no. It's very important that this process be conducted in a nonpartisan manner. This is an extremely important responsibility of the Congress of the United States. And I would hope Republicans and Democrats would recognize the historic importance of this. The Mueller investigation raises serious questions about how America is prepared to deal with attacks from Russia, as well as the conduct of the president. And it's now incumbent upon Congress to take that report give it its proper oversight, and to do it in a way that's befitting the Constitution of the United States.
The argument is out there. You say you want more in terms of investigation right now, but the argument's been made that launching a formal impeachment inquiry in the House, as was done in 1998 when the House received the Starr report, I think it was about 2 weeks after they got that report, they voted to open up and launch an impeachment inquiry, that would be part of that fact-finding process. Do you see value in that?
I would hope that in the House there would be conversations between the Republicans and the Democrats as to how is the best way to proceed with the Mueller report and getting to the facts so that there's more consensus as to what the facts are in this case. Maybe I'm just wishful thinking on that, but I can tell you this country wants this issue handled in a professional manner by the Congress. There are very serious issues that have been raised by the Mueller report, and it's critically important that Congress carry out its responsibilities. Clearly, the responsibilities with the Democratic Party as the party in power in the House, I recognize that. But the minority party in the House, the Republicans, have a responsibility, too, to make sure that in history this matter was handled the way that the framers of our Constitution intended.
All right, Senator Ben Cardin, Democrat from Maryland, thank you for the time.
Thank you.
All right.
Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Meet the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.